Name of the company is DataSoftNow. We do cybersecurity solutions. My name is Tom Nohs. Email address and website is on the screen there. It's tnohs@DataSoftNow. Pretty easy. I'm gonna some of the things that we do as a company is security assessment. So a lot of the members of our association are part of the NYDFS Part 500. Well, NYDFS Part 500 is the regulation that's associated with them. So I actually do those security assessments. I also do the full NIST 853A Rev 4, all the subcategories included in that. And what I'm talking about is small businesses don't have to do the full NIST 800. It's 1,400 questions for that main assessment. Whereas if you're a small company, your questionnaire is only somewhere around 350. I also do HIPAA, the new SHIELD Act that actually affects just about everybody in our group. I put the word etc. because, as I mentioned, all subcategories, there's a lot of different other industries that I actually do assessments for, which actually do include Department of Defense. I also, as many of you know, I've been working on a project out of northern New Jersey, but for the last 3 years, I've actually been working on a product called Tsunami. And if you're part of NYDFS, one of the things that's part of their regulations that you must do is have ongoing event monitoring, and you need to archive that events. So it's called, and you do that with a product called the SIM. It's called System Information Event Monitoring Tool and Archive. Giving you too much information, I'm just going to go to the next slide because I actually give more information about that later on. So the topic of the presentation today is how to keep safe from cyber threats when working from home. Items I'm going to cover are 5 steps to securely working from home, top 3 COVID-19 related risk, video conferencing tips, and what is Tsunami. 5 tips securely working from home. So protecting yourself. Basically what they're talking about here is you need to protect yourself against attackers on your home PC, changing your password, making sure your updates are up to date. And that's sort of what they're talking about. And we all have Hotmail, we all have Yahoo, we all have AOL. They are sending out, attackers are sending out targeted emails to these addresses, and sometimes they're targeted that they look like they're coming from your boss or your organization. And and they spoof it to look as if it's real, legit, and meaningful to you, and so that because they want to have an entranceway into your organization. And so that's some of the things, and it's just, again, I go through this all the time, and I talk about it, it's awareness, and that's what protecting yourself is. Protecting your Wi-Fi. I think you guys all know this. I've talked about it many times. Change the default password. Only allow trusted people on your Wi-Fi, and I will tell you that's another big one. People at home think that, oh, just let anybody that comes in the house on your Wi-Fi. Turn on your guest Wi-Fi and only allow them on that. That's how you do it. It keeps them completely separate from your regular network. Where your PC is, that's connecting to your office. That's the trick, is to keep that separate than everything else. And make strong Wi-Fi passwords. I talked about this, create strong passwords. Enable 2-step verification whenever possible. So whenever you go onto a website, and again, it's all about protecting yourself and you're protecting your own information, wherever possible, turn on that 2-factor authentication. Make sure all your devices are on the latest updates. And the reason you want to do that is, I can only think of one instance that I remember is, Linda, I'm going to use you as an example. many months ago, Linda had gotten a malware on her PC, and it was basically because her updates weren't applying on her PC. So that was actually the cause of it. So that's why you want to do all these updates. And make sure your family and friends understand they cannot work with your device. The PC that you're connecting to your office or doing your work on, you cannot allow other people to do, because you don't know where they're going. You don't know what they're doing. I will tell you, in my house, I actually have a separate Wi-Fi for um, my wife and her kids and everything. Even her PC is outside of my network. I actually have a two firewalls between me and them, and I just have to keep it that secure. And they're not allowed to touch my equipment. Okay, top 3 COVID-related risks. Use their own devices, and this is sort of what I was just talking about. A lot of enterprises had to implement bring your own device. Smaller companies, this is the way you guys existed today and yesterday, where larger companies had to allow users to use their own laptop to connect to their infrastructure. So larger companies are using what they call Citrix. Leo uses actually a secure connection to connect back to Allstate. And so they're very secure. But again, you need to make sure that that device actually is updated, and that's sort of what they're talking about here. Be aware of phishing, fraud, and scams. I will tell you, there was an FBI report that came out the other day, and what they did was they actually targeted the home email addresses of doctors and nurses, scamming to be people who sell medical equipment. And what it was that they wanted to get onto their home PC so that when they dial into the hospital, they can have access when they get in. And what they do is they load on what they call keyloggers. They get their login ID and password. This is where the two-factor authentication will stop it. But if they don't have two-factor authentication, the hacker can log into that facility as that user. So again, be aware of the phishing and scamming emails. It's just on the rise hugely. We all think that it would ease off. It has not. It actually has increased, but it's become more targeted. And actually, just as an FYI, the target now is small companies and small businesses. It's not the larger because they can't get in. Infrastructure security. According to reports, attacks on the so on the World Health Organization has this is a little strange of words, and I actually got this from SANS. What they're talking about. There were some attacks on the World Health Organization, and what happened was people has been doing a denial of service on the World Health Organization and hacking into the World Health Organization and taking them down. And I got to be honest with you, well, I'm not going to say it. I'll leave it to myself. Not a good thing, but well, what are you gonna do? So I actually included this video conferencing tips. Only because Christian actually before was telling everybody that we need to take that to the side, use the chat. I'm going to put my glasses on because it's actually pretty small. So first of all, as we all know, Zoom itself had a problem where some of the information they were giving out was not nice. Let's put it that way. Because I don't know the exact details but it was actually end user information that was given out as information. And so when they did the update so that didn't happen, the Zoom owner actually was on Fox and was apologizing and everything like that. But the problem is they needed to do an update on the software, so that affected the back end. So if you don't do that update, then the problem is that the software won't be writing the data to the proper tables within their backend infrastructure. And again, this is video conferencing tips for attendees. Okay, configure your audio and video settings. So when we first were starting, I don't know if everybody remembers, there was a lot of us having problems with the video and the audio because we just never used it before. But what this is saying is set that before, do 15 minutes beforehand. You all can connect Zoom to what they call an infrastructure and test everything. So what they're saying here is do that before you connect to the meeting. Double check your background. I don't know if any of you guys saw the video that was on Facebook. There was a video conferencing going on, and this gentleman came into the room. He was totally nude, and his camera was on, and he was in the video conferencing. Everything was there. So be aware. That's all I'm telling you. It was really pretty funny. And Linda, I have to assume you saw that because Lisa shared it on Facebook. Don't share invites. So this is actually pretty important, and I'll just give you a quick reason why you don't want to do that. So if somebody is giving a presentation, so if you look at the image that I have on here, that is actually copyright protected, except for what I'm doing. Sans actually created that image. So if you take a screenshot of that, then you're assuming you're taking it from me. It's not. It's actually Sans. So we should never be taking screenshots of anybody's presentation online. You can ask for them, and then they can be duped out. And again, I'm talking about don't take screenshots. The next one is specifically for Christian, I guess, video conference tips for organizers. Update the software, as I talked about before. This says require a password for entry. I actually agree with that, but I don't know that we're not a law firm. We're actually an association, so I actually do not think that this actually really fits with the way that we're functioning, because we really want more people to join with us. Whereas if you have proprietary information being shared and talked about, you really want to have a password for entry. Review the attendees who are on. And there again, I know Christian does do that, so I think that's actually a really good idea to understand who is actually connected, specifically so that we know if there's new people that are joining. Lock the conference. Here again, I don't know that we want to do that, but it's on that list. If you're a business and you're conducting a business, you want to lock the conference so that people don't join just from an audio standpoint, and again, you're trying to protect proprietary information. Eliminate disruptions. Christian did a great job this morning. I was on my list, and when she did it, I did a thumbs up. Configure audio settings. And again, this is more about configuring your settings so that when you get connected, everything is ready to go. Double check your screen share. So it actually worked really well. I just shared it. I never did it before. It actually worked. And I couldn't test that prior to this. So, and most importantly, when we do this and you're going to record the session, you have to tell everybody. That's actually very important, as lawyers would know that anyway. What is Tsunami? So I actually talked about it in the beginning. This is the project. This is my client of the week was me. This is actually a piece of software that I wrote. I have actually been working on this for about 4 years, and I'm actually going to be presenting it to a IT consultant company that actually works specifically with law firms in Manhattan. And what is Tsunami? Tsunami is a information event manager. And when firms get hacked, and I believe I mentioned this to you guys a number of times, where the most recent ransomware attacks that I worked on, the information that is available on the systems was not there because they didn't have anything turned on capturing the information. So this is what a SIM does. When an attacker attacks your business, a SIM is gathering the events of what is occurring, so that after it happens, we can figure out how it occurred, who it occurred to, so that we can train people. It has nothing to do with pointing fingers. It has everything to do with trying so that it doesn't happen again. And this is part of some regulations. This is not a full-blown SIM. That's why I use the word simple, because those products are out of the reach for your medium, mid-size actually firms to small firms. They're way out of reach. You know, they're like $100,000 to start with. Nobody's going to do that. They rather be out of compliance than trying to spend that kind of money to protect their company. And as I mentioned down here, most industry regulations require ongoing monitoring of events and keeping that information for a specific amount of time. And I'll give you an example. Somebody like Eileen, her business actually has to keep this information for 7 years. And the idea there is, if somebody had gotten a hold of some client information or HIPAA information, there needs to be a way to go back and figure out how it occurred, just in case it was actually could be an insider threat as well. And so that's the whole idea of capturing events. And some of this is alertable, some of it is not. This is just a quick screenshot of the actual events that are occurring. This is actually on a system that has 10 PCs. And the number, there's a year-to-date screen, 1.2 million events on 10 machines from the 17th. There's a huge amount of events that occur on PCs. So I'm not going to say any more on that. If anybody's interested, you know anybody that may need a SIM, and that's what everybody calls it, this is an inexpensive way to go. But it does have a lot of features that are included with it. Any questions?